Hi, I'm Michael Wan, your host for Michael Wan's Op-Ed Live, and this is Jeffrey Prang, our LA County Assessor. Our show, Op-Ed Live, is not about left or right. It's about what's right or wrong. So President Trump finally had his State of the Union last Tuesday. It was delayed because Nancy Pelosi, Speaker Nancy Pelosi, disinvited him, right, too? And there was a shutdown, and obviously there were a lot of noise around this State of the Union speech. Did you watch it, and what was your impression upon it?
I watched most of it, and I have a number of opinions about it. A number of the things, here, let me say something more broadly about State of the Union addresses, whether it be Trump or President Obama or George Bush. They've become these marketing productions. Yeah. And, you know, it's nice that they bring these guests and they point the guests out and have a nice story. They're all nice stories. But, you know, I resent the fact that it has become some sort of a marketing package. I wish that they would just come up with a more business-like address and say, here's the things we're working on, here's the things we need to work on forward. I think it needs to be more boring. I think it needs to be more factual about what the mechanics of running the government are, instead of trying to create some sort of spin or partisanship, or all the touchy-feeling things might connect with a lot of people. But, you know, running the government is difficult, and I think we need to be candid with the American people about what needs to be done and how we're going to do it. That being said, I think the speech was, by Trump's standards, it was an improvement. But he made it, you know, he made lies, he used a lot of the typical rhetoric that he does in his rallies. He said threw a number of things in I thought were reasonable and in the spirit of the occasion. Overall, I'm going to give him a little bit more credit on this one than most. I'll give him a D+.
That's an improvement. Because I think you gave it an F for the past 2 years or something, right?
Most of his speeches I would give an F.
So State of the Union, you think it's more style over substance. That's what you think.
I think it is style over substance.
The impression that I got, I think he pretty much laid out good amount of facts. That's my impression. And I think it was one of his best speeches. I really think so. I watched it. And no, you know, you and I have a really different opinion about Trump. Our viewers all know that you don't like Trump that much, and I'm still a Trump supporter because I like his anti-establishment attitude.
No, you're a journalist. You're neutral.
Huh?
You're a journalist. You're neutral.
No, but I'm an opinion guy. So I'm the opinion guy here in the editorial board. So I believe that this was one of his best speeches, and I think he hit the right notes. If you look at the CBS impression, this is not me talking, okay? So CBS viewers, you don't view them as an right-wing TV, right? TV station. So 76% approved his speech, and 24% disapproved. And among Republicans, he got 97% score, which is pretty much almost everybody liked the speech. Almost every friends that I know, the sources that I know, they loved his speech. And 82% of independents approved of the speech. 30% of Democrats approved of his speech. I think 30% among Democrats is pretty high, in my opinion. I don't think they gave a D+ like what you did. To me, I wouldn't give him an A+, but I do think that he got an A. That's my view. I think especially when he talked about the border wall, the importance of it, about how 1 in every 3 women crossing the border gets raped, sexually assaulted. And I think those are the talking points where the mainstream media do not talk about that much. And I think Trump needed this State of the Union. I think in Trump's case, it's more important to individuals like Trump. You said that State of the Union, it tends to be more style over substance. Probably it might be true, but in Trump's case, you have this constant 24/7 bashing by the media, whether you turn on CNN or MSNBC or 3 major networks or NYT or WAPO, it's all constant bashing. I have never seen a single.
But keep in mind, Fox has a bigger viewership, and they're 100% touting his favor. So it's just the opposite.
Well, in Fox News case, it's just one. It's just one station.
Yeah, but they get bigger viewership.
They do get bigger viewership. Okay, they hit 11 million, so they did get more viewership, even more than ABC, NBC, CBS, for our viewers to make it correct. But if you add up all the numbers, ABC, NBC, CBS, and CNN, MSNBC, and all these other major networks, that number trumps, pardon the pun.
Excuse me.
Pardon the pun. That number trumps
right.
Fox News. So if you look at that sense,
I don't dispute these
yeah.
numbers. I think the things that what the average American saw in that speech is different than what I saw.
Exactly,
speech.
because you're a polished politician, and I do believe State of the Union is targeted towards the average American. So people who are probably don't follow up with the political news like you and I do, but they wanted to get their impression. They wanted to know what is the state of the country at that moment. So President Trump needed to talk, in his point of view, how the country is going, and he's saying that it's going very well. And I believe that it is going very well compared to the previous administration. I think he is very firm. I do understand why the Democrats hate him so much, but he's really trying to keep his campaign promises, and he's really getting a lot of approval from the Republicans, as you can see, 97% of them approve the speech.
Let me give you a couple things that stick out to me that were problematic. One was just an outright lie when he said that the city of El Paso, Texas, went from being a dangerous city to a safe city because of the wall. El Paso has always been a safe city. Its numbers for public safety were comparable to where they are right now, before the wall and after the wall. So that's one thing. His numbers were simply incorrect. And most of the stations, when they were covering what was truthful and was not truthful, laid out those numbers. Secondly, he talked about withdrawing from this missile agreement.
Oh, you mean with Russia?
With Russia.
Isn't that a good thing?
And he made that sound like it's a good thing. But having more nuclear weapons is not a good thing.
But Russia has been violating for the past decade.
Yes, they
right?
have been.
Aren't we supposed to be suspicious about Trump being colluding with Russia? I thought he was in Russian
I'm
agent.
not disputing the fact that Russia may have violated, but simply pulling out of a nuclear non-proliferation treaty makes the world a more dangerous place.
I believe right now we already have more than enough nuclear bombs to probably destroy this entire Earth.
But he just announced we're going on another missile competition.
I think that's a message. I think he's sending a strong message towards Putin. Everybody thinks that Trump is a buddy for Putin, but if I'm Putin, Trump would be the individual that I hate the most. If I'm Vladimir Putin, he's putting so much sanctions, and he's pulling out of this. He's pulled out of the Iran deal, which Vladimir Putin loved. He wanted the Iran deal, and even with Syria. Well, I don't think Obama didn't shoot any missiles when they crossed the red line. You remember that. When they did cross the red line, what did Trump do? Trump shot 59 Tomahawk missiles. These are just concrete facts.
I think we're going to see in the coming weeks, as the House Intelligence Committee begins to release information about Trump and his associates and the depth of the connection that they have with Russia.
Right?
I think we're going to be surprised about the things that we learn. Too early to tell, but I think that there's going to be information that the president.
Are you talking about the Robert Mueller investigation or the House investigation?
I think the House.
The Intelligence Committee, right? So Adam Schiff.
Well, I think the Mueller investigation will be revealing as well. We just have no idea when it's going to be available. But the House investigation is going to be done largely in public. And a lot of the information will be, which the Republican members of Congress sat on for the last couple of years. The House is going to be doing actual oversight, asking questions in public. Maybe they'll get answers and maybe they won't, but at least we as Americans will know.
But I believe this is just political game. They already closed the investigation last year. They just reopened it, right?
Yes.
To me, it's just nonsense. I told you, I truly believe in my heart of hearts that this Russia collusion thing is completely fabricated. I've been saying that from the beginning all the way to now.
I am just as confident as the opposite. I am confident that.
Then why would he pull out of the treaty then? Right? I don't think Putin criticized Trump for that, right?
It's kind of the it's the thing.
Is that also like a WWE thing? Is that what you're saying?
It's the thing we do with little kids. You don't want them to pay to.
How about the sanctions?
You dangle the shiny keys.
How about the sanctions?
Look over here.
How about the sanctions?
These are all easy.
He slapped a lot of sanctions, and even energy. America has been now the #1 exporting oil company. I don't think Vladimir Putin likes that. And also, Germany imports gas. Germany imports oils from Russia, right? And it was Donald Trump who arrived there the first day.
That's Donald Trump saying, "Look over here. Don't look at my collusion. Look at over here what I'm doing."
He told Putin. He told the NATO people, "Hey, why? if NATO was supposed to defend themselves against Russia, why are you importing oil? You know, he was the one who pointed that out. So to me, it seems like Trump is anti-Russia as you can get. That's how I see it.
I don't see that at all.
He's anti-Russia. He's anti-China. And he was anti-North Korea, but I think Obama, he was like pro all of that.
He's also very sporadic in the relationships with both China and Russia. I believe that he has personal business dealings, had personal business dealings, and engaged in inappropriate behavior with Russia.
He was a businessman. Was that illegal to do a business in Russia or other countries?
It wasn't.
He didn't actually do it. He wanted to do it, I think, but it didn't.
It was not illegal as a businessman, but when he became a candidate, the standards became higher, and that's the question.
When he became the candidate, it was already over, as far as I know. That his Trump Tower project was kind of
Rudy Giuliani has now admitted that they were still engaged in negotiations up through the Republican convention, which is a problem. That means that his business operations in Russia were still active at a time that he was a candidate.
But Trump relieved himself from the Trump organization once he announced.
No, after he became president, not once he announced.
Once he announced, he pretty much said that he's done with all that, and he gave it to his son and Ivanka and Trump Jr. That's pretty much. He said he didn't operate. He did not operate.
Those are the questions that the Republican investigation did not ask. That the Democratic investigation will.
And it's not illegal to continue to do your business.
Yes,
know that.
It is.
Even though you're a president, by law, you don't have to completely give up. But you don't have enough time to operate your own company. That's why they relieve themselves from their position. It's not illegal. It's not illegal.
But Michael, every president for the last 50 or 60 years has set their personal businesses into a trust where they have no operational control in order to provide a level of confidence to the American people that they are not enjoying personal gain from the presidency. Trump is the first president who has never done that. And we have no idea what his relationship is with his business because he doesn't tell us and he doesn't release his taxes.
Because he doesn't have to. I think that's not even legal. I mean, it's not illegal. It's not illegal. I mean, other presidents, they did it. I think, didn't they do like for the past 40, 50 years? Prior to that, they didn't do that.
But here's the thing. Typically, if a candidate says, I'm not going to release my taxes, most people find that suspicious.
Do you know why?
We've given Trump a pass. Why do we give Trump a pass that we didn't give to Obama or to Bush or to Clinton or to Bush or to Reagan?
I would say this.
How come we expect it from everybody but him?
I would say this. If the mainstream media covered Donald Trump properly and fairly, then I would be on their side. But since they have been so heinous towards him right off the bat, when he announced his candidacy in June 16th of 2015, I thought, it was fair game. He's like, okay, then I'm not going to reveal all that.
Here's the way. Well,
because once they do that, you know what they're going to do. They're going to all jump onto whatever tax report that he had.
Works.
And the tax report actually came out. The 2005 one. Didn't Rachel Maddow reveal on her show?
You
remember that, right?
The cover page.
And the amount of the money was so high that even Van Jones, a known anti-Trumper, Van Jones said, $135 million tax for a year. I feel like I want to thank President Trump, and that's what he said. That's what he clapped his hand.
In response to your comment about the mainstream media, you're a journalist, and you know how this works.
I think they're fake news.
If you ask people for an answer, and you know that they're being evasive, you continue to ask until you get an answer. Trump does not answer questions. He does not answer about his personal business. He doesn't answer about his taxes. The reason the mainstream media continues to drive at him is because they have not gotten an answer.
No, because the mainstream media do not want him because he's not an establishment guy. He's not one of their boys. He's not one of the elite. They wanted Hillary. 97% of the DOJ, just Justice Department, donation money went to Hillary. Only 3% went to Trump. I wonder who that 3% is.
The mainstream media gave Trump billions of dollars in free media.
Yeah, did they want it to?
Of course they did.
No, did they wanted Trump to get elected to air that much time? I don't think so. They just wanted to make him look like a buffoon, right?
No, they just want to make money. The mainstream media wants to make money. If they didn't want him to win,
do you think they're bashing Trump 24/7 just to make money right now at this point? If you turn on CNN right now,
they're not bashing Trump.
As we speak, probably they're going to talk about something bad about Trump or MSNBC. I guarantee you that.
They're not bashing Trump. What they are doing is they're reporting what Trump says, and it looks like bashing.
So anyway, there are so many other news that's going on in America and in the world. But if you watch CNN, and I do a lot, and also MSNBC, I would say probably 85 to 90% of the time that they allocate is about Trump. It wasn't like that during the Obama years. You know that. It wasn't like that during the Bush years, too.
Fox does just the opposite. Fox spends all their time bashing Democrats.
So
It's the same-
anyway,
there are two sides of a coin.
okay. So I don't. So Fox is one of the different channels. You know that they don't follow the same narrative as the other
They do the same
mainstream
thing, just to
media.
the opposite side of the coin.
So do you think they're doing that to, increase their revenue? The Trump bashing. I'm talking about the Trump bashing.
They're all mainstream media. All of them are about profits and shareholder value.
Yeah.
All of them are doing things that are going to get viewers. They do things which I think is what's wrong with all news. I think the BBC is a different story. They report the
BBC
news.
is in Great Britain, though.
But you heard Les Moonves from CBS, mainstream media. They gave Trump all that coverage because their dollars went through the roof.
Yeah, they did admit that.
I don't believe that they're bashing. I believe they are covering a guy who is interesting because he's so crazy that he makes good coverage. And they're spending a lot of time. And Trump gets mad. Who is it? That said,
So do you think
Harry Truman says, "I'm not." Something he says, "I'm just telling." He says, "I'm not giving you hell. I'm just telling you the truth, and you think it's hell."
Yeah, but don't you kind of think then what you're saying is that 63 million people, they're crazy to vote for Trump, right? Pretty much.
I think a lot of people were hoodwinked by Donald Trump.
I think a lot of them are kind of satisfied of what he's doing. I mean, look at his approval rating, 97% among Republicans for the speech. So what I'm saying is the speech hit the points where he needed to hit because other establishment politicians would never say the things what he would have said.
A Quinnipiac poll over the weekend just said that 56% of Americans say that they will not vote for Trump in 2020.
Yeah, but we got
to. Which is a really bad number.
But if we believe, the poll numbers, then Trump shouldn't have even got elected, right? Do you remember like 85% percentage? I mean, when the NYT predicted who's going to win for presidency, they predicted Hillary would win 85%, right? You agree?
No, I don't agree.
That's what NYT. That's what New York Times
she was projected to win.
Yeah, projected to win 85%. Winning percentile.
But the percentage they expected her to win, and I guess you could argue she did win because she got 3 million more votes.
Oh, come on! But, you know that America's an electoral college.
I understand, but still.
Do you want it to be shifted to population?
Yes.
Then so according to you, probably if you're the president, you want it to change the system. You want to change the Constitution. You want to change it to the popular vote.
Yes, I do. Here's how.
But that's a very controversial statement.
I do know that. But here, take this for example. California has 40 million people and 2 senators.
But then,
North Dakota and South Dakota have 1 million. They get 4.
Then, according to you, then a presidential candidate would not devote their time in, for instance, New Hampshire or Iowa or Nebraska or Maine. They wouldn't go there. So Maine only have 1 delegate, right?
So there is a proposal that's been floating that does not require a constitutional amendment.
So these candidates would only campaign in California, New York, Texas. Probably these 3 states would decisively decide who the president will be. And to me, that seems very unfair.
But what's also unfair, why is it
like a country like...
How is it that Oklahoma, where you used to live, how come they get more votes than Californians, even though we have 40 million people and they have 1 million people? Why is it that Oklahoma is more powerful?
Because we're a republic. We're not a... You know that America's a republic country, right? More than a democratic country.
It's a republic. But a republic has nothing to do with electoral college.
Once you do that, all the states lose their power. That's how I see it. So they will lose their power.
So here's the proposal. Here's the proposal. The proposal that's been out there is that the electoral college be amended so that the state casts its electoral votes with the candidate in that state who gets the majority.
I think it's never going to happen. And I believe that, I know that there are some people who feel that it's unfair to do that, to do the electoral college over popular vote. Some people believe, like you, popular vote should decide who the president will be. And if you look at the past presidential elections, you're right. Democrats did win a lot. Like Obama won twice more popular votes too, and Hillary this time, and even Al Gore, right? Al Gore got more votes against George W. Bush. But to me, that argument doesn't stand. Then that means that you're going to ignore all the middle America.
So that's the way.
And I think what I'm saying is that got offset with the congressional side. You know that in Congress, on the congressional side, California has much more congressmen or congresswomen compared to other states. You know that, right? 55, right? Doesn't that kind of make it more fair? On the Congress side?
On the congressional side, not on the Senate side. On the Senate side,
on the Senate side, everybody gets 2 votes.
And there's a fundamental tenet of American politics, and that is every vote counts. It's one person, one vote. What we have with the Electoral College today is minority rule. Trump did not get the majority of votes. A majority of Americans under him and in Bush-Gore 2000 voted for somebody else, but the person who got the fewest amount of votes won. And the Electoral College, if you're going to talk about the history of the Electoral College, that was about slave states. That was about protecting slave states.
It was right off the bat. It wasn't just George W. Bush losing against Al Gore. If you look at history, you're a history guy. There were some other cases too, right? It wasn't like the first time.
There was the race with Rutherford B. Hayes.
And it was controversial even back then about that. Some people wanted the popular vote to be the decisive vote for deciding who the president will be, but that is just set up. I think people are just talking.
I have a question for you. So
this is just an issue that people like to talk about, but it will never change.
So let me ask you this question then, based on your rationale, saying that California and New York would dominate, and the smaller states
would not have as much.
So let's go to the Republic of Korea.
We're doing popular vote. Yeah.
The person with the most that gets what, and the people in Seoul are the ones who decide who gets to be the president, because that's where the biggest population circle is, and the people who live in rural southern part of the peninsula, their votes are determined by how people in Seoul vote.
I believe like big countries and small countries really operate differently. I know that because I used to live in South Korea, so it's a very small country.
What about Russia? Russia is really big.
You know that South Korea is even smaller than California.
It's got more people.
It's got more people. Yeah, it's got more people, but I'm talking about size.
Yeah, geographically, yes.
Geographically. So to me, it's different. It's all, the density is much higher in Korea. So I think it's hard to compare Korea to United States of America. Even the name USA is United States. It's not just America. It's United States. The states are united, and that's why it's a federal government system.
Is it fair?
So if it has to be. So what you're saying is it shouldn't be a federal government system, right?
It
shouldn't be a federal system,
fair
right?
that Wyoming and Nebraska and the 2 Dakotas, all which have fewer people combined than LA County, that they have that much more power in the U.S. Senate than California? Is that fair to California?
Okay, on the Senate side, I believe that everybody should have their vote, should have their say, and I think 2 votes to me sounds fair because it gets offset by the congressional side, like you said. California, Texas has more, congressional seats than other states, right? So to me, that is fair enough. But that is overkill. That is overkill.
What about equal representation?
Equal representation is happening on the congressional side, doesn't it?
So why? But it's not on the Senate side, and we have two
I
houses.
think America shouldn't be a federal system. That's what you're arguing, I think. Then you're saying that the federal government system does not work.
No, a federal system is just how you distribute authority. It doesn't mean that you have to have unequal voting.
But anyway, we got to go to other topics. So anyway, Trump mentioned about unemployment rate going low, almost like half century, all-time low. Right now it's 4.0%. It kind of went, ticked up a little bit because of the government shutdown. And he said he created 600,000 manufactured jobs. You emphasize manufactured jobs, right? I mean, I know that because you're from Michigan. Right. You care about the auto industry there. He said 600,000 jobs created on the manufacturing field. What is your takeaway on that?
I don't know those.
You think that's fake?
He said a lot of
things. You think that's fake?
Yes, I do believe it's fake. Because when it comes to economic growth,
that's a number from Labor Bureau.
Well, I can't argue numbers that I haven't had a chance to review. Okay. So that you put me at a disadvantage.
Okay. But you think that's just fake? He just created it.
There are economic strengths in the economy today. He can take credit for some of them. Obama can take credit for some of them.
How about the deregulation? Do you think it helped?
No, I think it's terrible. I think deregulation.
But do you think it helped the economy or not? The job-wise?
I don't know. I do know it's bad for America to loosen up regulations on oil and gas, to loosen up regulations on pharmaceuticals, to loosen up regulations on environmental protection. I think all those things are bad.
How about Trump claiming America being first time an energy exporting country, oil and gas? Natural gas. What do you think about that?
Well, we export and we import. I think that's not something to brag about.
But now export exceeds import.
I think what he needs to be talking about is what are alternative fuels for the future. They're going to reduce our reliance on drilling. He's now proposing to drill off the coast of California, where it's been banned for decades. I don't think digging for more oil and digging for more coal is something to brag about. I think expanding solar energy, expanding wind energy, and coming up with ways to replace that is where we should be going.
Okay, when we go, well, let's go back to the immigration stand. To me, I don't see anything wrong of putting the wall there on the southern border. How come America is trying to invite all these illegal immigrants over here? Well, to me, it's like it's like the Democrats want them to come over here. You know, there are so many sexual assaults happening, murders happening, and I told you, like Kate Steinle and Jamil Shah. These kind of cases also, it's very tragic. You know, the people who have sacrificed their lives because of illegal immigrants crossing over here. To me, why are some Democrats and also the media, why are they inviting people who we cannot verify who they are? To me, it just doesn't make sense. And we already have like what, 12 million and 20 million?
Nobody's inviting people. These are people who are coming, who are abandoning countries where their lives are not safe.
But it seems like the Democrats want the caravan to also move in.
Why would you say that? The Democrats have never said they want the caravan to come.
So what do they want then?
They want.
I know what Trump wants. Trump doesn't want them to come in.
They want a fair and humane immigration policy. They want people to come to the border and say, I've got a problem in my home country. Will you consider letting me in? And they want to evaluate them based on the merits.
But didn't they criticize Trump sending troops there to block them?
Well, because they know that's a BS strategy.
Because do you know why? I know the answer
strategy.
Why. Once they step foot on our land, it's catch and release, right? You have to catch and release. And you're supposed to go to court, the illegal immigrant, whoever got caught. Do you think they're going to appear in court? They don't.
So Trump did not send the military there to guard the border. He did that so that you would talk about it on your news show and say, look how tough I'm. Here's a question I have for you, though, is that he's so concerned about safety on the border. We all are.
Yeah.
But the real safety, one thing he didn't talk about is the 38,000 people who were killed by guns last year. And he and the Republicans won't support reasonable gun violence.
You're talking about
there are more people dying of gun assaults in this country that are not being committed by minorities and immigrants, but that wasn't even on his agenda.
So Jeffrey, that's a good point. I mean, Trump didn't mention about the gun violence. Okay, that's a good point. But to me, it seems like wall is common sense. That's how I view it. You know, even in Israel, it works. I heard that there used to be a lot of illegal immigrants crossing over to Israel's side from Palestine, but ever since the wall happened, I heard that zero illegal immigration happening. So to me, it seems like it does work, but
I can give you the Democratic strategy. Here's the Democratic strategy on border control. First of all, investing in the home countries of where these immigrants are coming from, El Salvador, Guatemala, to help provide better safety and more opportunities that will allow them to stay in those countries and not have to come. Secondly, is having border security includes a menu of things that could be effective: electronic surveillance, additional personnel, barriers in some places, and enough personnel to manage it. A wall, for the sake of building a wall, is not going to keep people out, because most people come in this country illegally, not by crossing the border, but by overstaying visas, by coming in through boat and airplane.
I think, you know, they don't know the exact number because they don't even know how many illegal immigrants are here.
The wall is a simplistic answer to a complex problem, and I think that's where the Democrats are objecting it. They want a comprehensive and sophisticated answer.
So 72% of the viewers think that there's a crisis on the southern border, so I think they've been misled with Trump, but
Trump is misleading them.
I don't know. I mean, you don't think that schools are filled up with a lot of illegal immigrants' kids? You know, I've been to those schools. There are a lot of
there's a lot of undocumented kids. Yes, there are a lot of undocumented kids in schools. Yes, there are.
And to me, that's a problem. I mean, you know that the teacher strike. You know the teacher strike happened here, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the reasoning of the strike was they want less student in their class. Yes. And to me, that is directly linked with illegal immigration problem. And I don't know. I mean, I'll just end up here on the immigrant front. Immigration front. So Trump is meeting with North Korean leader February 27th and 28th in Vietnam. Your thought about that? He announced it in the State of the Union.
I think Kim Jong-un should be thrilled. He's been slapping Trump around for the last year.
Is he the one who's winning?
I think he's winning. I think he's getting everything he wants.
Really?
He's got the president on his side, and he's continuing to build his missiles and his weapons of mass destruction. And Trump is saying that they're in love with one another. It's absurd, and it's embarrassing for this country. And Kim Jong-il still has all the same issues that we should be concerned about and be alarmed about, but he's got the President of the United States acting like their bedmates.
But those are just rhetoric, right, Jeffrey? Okay, you said that Kim Jong-un got everything and Trump lost on every front between their dealings. To me, it seems like Trump got all the things and Kim Jong-un didn't get any. Okay,
what do we get?
Kim Jong-un did get something. He probably opened the door to get some relief from the sanctions. So Trump got, I'll tell you the numbers, what he got. So he got the remains back. I think so far 200 remains got back, and also he released 4 hostages that were in North Korea. They didn't come during the Obama administration. So to me, that in itself is huge. And also, for the past 15 months, there has been no missile test, ICBM test, or nuclear tests. So that in itself, to me, seems like Trump won on every front against Kim Jong-un. And Kim Jong-un got brought down to his knees, in my opinion. That's why he wanted to have talks, and that's why the summit happened last year. And now he's having a second one. I believe probably there might be some relief of sanctions, probably, who knows. Then probably Kim Jong-un has scored something. But so far, I don't think there's, I think it's like Trump 3-4 to Kim Jong-un 0. He didn't get anything back.
I disagree with that.
Just by him talking to him, some people said that in itself gives him huge points. Probably
I do believe it's important to engage your enemies, because if you don't engage them, you can't come to a conclusion. It is better that things are not as hostile as they were before, but to think that we have gotten something out of it, getting hostages released and getting the remains of our war dead is important. But remember, the whole purpose of this dispute with North Korea was over a crazy guy like Kim Jong-un having nuclear weapons. Yeah. He still has nuclear weapons. According to Trump's own head of intelligence, Dan Coates, they're still pursuing their nuclear ambitions. They're not testing, but they're no less dedicated to maintaining weapons of mass destruction. We are no closer to getting to addressing those issues. At the same time, we have totally toned down the rhetoric on our end. We got Trump, who's blowing hot air up Kim Jong-un's skirt, and making it sound like it was a great victory, and it was not a victory. So we have a lot of work to do.
So on the second summit, what does Trump have to get to claim that he did a good job?
I think he needs to get a commitment from Kim Jong-un that he is going to dismantle the weapons that he has built, and that he's going to stop building them. I think that's where we need to begin. Yeah. And if he does that, then I think we should begin relaxing.
But how can we make sure that they don't have nuclear weapons? Do you think there should be a 24/7 monitoring system?
We had a similar. We've done this in other countries, such as in Iran. We can go
IAEA,
and we did that before in Iraq. What are the letters? The International Atomic Energy Commission.
IAEA.
They went into Iraq for years to make sure he wasn't building weapons of mass destruction.
Probably that has to be on the table. I mean, you have some valid points. You're right. I mean, at this point, they didn't get rid of nuclear weapons 100%.
And there was not even a framework for getting rid of them. So that's the.
But to me, it seems like Trump is advancing the talks right now, and I think that's a positive thing. A lot of Koreans in South Korea, they view this very positively.
Oh, I would. If I lived in South Korea, I would too, because the thought of a nuclear bomb falling in my neighborhood would I'd find discomforting.
So what is your thought about? So many people on the Republican side, on the conservative side, and on the pro-Trump side, they feel that there has been a huge shift, a seismic shift politically, because there has been so many bad news towards the Democrats. I mean, I know what you feel, but 72% of the viewers on CBS, they said they agree with Trump's immigration message, and also, and pretty much most of his message, it seems like majority agree with Trump. If you look at, and categorically they divided it, and they agreed a lot on what Trump had to say. And the Virginia issue, the governor and the lieutenant governor and the AG, attorney general there, they're all involved in rather a racist issue, a discrimination issue, or sexual assault issue. What is your thought about that?
I think it's I think it's tragic and horrific. I can't believe that the Virginia government and the people of Virginia have to endure such controversy. What the governor and the attorney general have acknowledged doing is something. Presenting themselves in blackface is just abhorrent, and it's against everything that we stand for as Americans. Sexual assault being alleged against the lieutenant governor. All these things are egregious issues, particularly for those in the public eye. I think the big question that America is struggling with right now is that, particularly with the issue of the blackface, is at what point do we decide? At what point do you have to give up your role in public life to atone for past sins and past mistakes of this nature? And there's a big debate going on. With the governor, it happened 35 years ago, but since he's been in public life, his positions and his work dealing with diversity and with African Americans has been exemplary. And so a lot of people immediately called for him to resign. And now you're seeing a little bit of pushback by some of the media saying, yes, it was terrible, but is there not room for redemption? Can he not say, I'm sorry, and look at what I've done for 35 years
because he
and go forward?
Refused to resign, right?
So, I'm sympathetic to these discussions. My first instinct was, this is horrible, you got to go. But you know, if we want to, but you start playing that, we haven't really settled to what standards are appropriate. So they're talking about the lieutenant governor and sexual harassment, and they think he should go. But then you had Brett Kavanaugh, who did the same thing, and it happened about the same time as the governor's blackface in the mid 1980s. So at what point, you know, where do we draw that line, and for whom?
Do you know this Virginia case is so interesting? It's so unique in its. I have never seen anything like this, right? I mean, this is the top three. The number one person, Ralph Northam, the governor, and the lieutenant governor Fairfax, right? And it's Mark Herring, the AG. It's just they're all Democrats. And to me, there seems to be a double standard even with the mainstream media. Do you know that they clobbered Brett Kavanaugh? They said he should resign. He should never, be Supreme Court justice. You remember that, right? Yeah. You remember that episode. And to me, that seemed like a fabricated incident. That's what I believe, with Christine Blasey Ford. Now, Christine Blasey Ford's lawyer, they're representing this lady, Dr. What's her name, who claimed to be sexually assaulted, Dr. Vanessa Tyson. And I mean, and to me, it's just so funny that this incident came to happen. And the funnier thing is when the governor had that racial thing, the KKK when his album, in his medical school album, was it a graduation album, right? Something like that, right?
It was a senior
album, yeah. And had the Ku Klux Klan, one guy Ku Klux Klan yearbook, and another guy had a black painted. I don't know whether he was imitating Michael Jackson. The lieutenant governor and the AG demanded him to resign. So it's it's so hypocritical, these things. And then now they're saying, hey, come to think of it, I used to do it too. It's so heinous, and it's just a political game to me.
And Virginia's an interesting state because it's become a blue state in recent years, in presidential races, and their senators for several years and the governors. But Virginia, not that long ago, was still was much more reflective of the Deep South. Yeah. And things have changed rather radically, and in a very short period of time. A lot of it has to do with the number of people who work in Washington, D.C., who live in Northern Virginia, who now dominate the state's population. So the old parts of rural Virginia, it wouldn't be surprising to see that sort of thing still show up. But the state has changed so radically in such a short time. You're finding people who, if the governor of Michigan had appeared in blackface in 1984,
it would have been okay, right?
It would not have been okay because Michigan's been much more progressive.
You mean back in 1984?
Like 1980, I think they would have been driven out in 1984. In 1964 would be a different story in the South. But Virginia's kind of on this. They're not as far. They're kind of this
crossing from red to blue. That's what you were saying, right?
They're now blue, but they've not been as blue as long as like Michigan was, and so people were still doing egregious things in the mid-'90s that they weren't doing in Michigan or Wisconsin.
But to me, it might cross over to red again because the number 4 guy is a Republican there. And
I need to be clear, though, I'm not defending any of these things. I am appalled by everything that's happening there. and they're not, and there may be partisan spins to it, but I think the bigger issue is just how do we hold American politicians to account for things that they've done in the past, and it's unclear today where those lines are being drawn, and they are inconsistent, and it looks hypocritical. But I think it's just because we've never had these conversations publicly.
It looks hypocritical in the sense that I thought that the Democrats always felt that they were more on the high ground in the moral front, right? They always trashed Trump, look at his affairs and all that, right? And they had this moral high ground. Hey, look at they're bigots. I hear that all the time. But this story came about. Nobody even knew about this story about the governor. The governor, what's his name, Ralph Northam. This incident came about because a small website called Big League Politics, a conservative website, they were the one who pressed this.
Right.
And that's how Washington Post picked it up and, pretty much catch later. And even what's his name? The Fairfax, the lieutenant governor, Fairfax. This sexual assault thing, according to Dr. Vanessa Tyson, she said she sent this incident to the Washington Post 1 year ago. But they refused to report it. So to me, it seems like the mainstream media, like I always tell you, the mainstream media always pick and choose their opponents. And if it's about to blow up, then they're going to do this. I bet if Governor Northam incident did not come about, we would not have known Justin Fairfax, Lieutenant Governor incident about the sexual assault thing, and also Herring, the AG. So
Herring self-admitted he came forward.
But he admitted because of these chain of events, right?
He didn't necessarily have pictures that they could have.
So to me, I feel like the mainstream media has been really, I supported Obama. I supported Democrats, and even some of the races I supported Democrats before, but it's just too much. It's like they're pretty much acting like a Democratic super PAC. I mean, I know that New York Times is located in New York, which is completely dark blue, and also Washington Post, their headquarters is in Washington, D.C., which is completely blue. I don't think there's any red there. And, L.A. too. I mean, L.A. Times, nobody's going to accuse L.A. Times of, being conservative paper. So to me, these double standard is jarring. And I see this over and over again because I read these papers every single day, both left and right. But a lot of my colleagues and a lot of journalists, they seem to just believe whatever NYT and WAPO said, but they don't know conservative websites like Drudge or Breitbart or Fox. They don't even know Fox that well. So to me, this has always been a problem, but now I think during this Trump era, more and more people are finding out that they have to study for themselves to know these. And I applaud what Big League Politics did. I mean, it was not a smart thing for them to cover their face with black, but like you said, there comes a point where we have to stop. Probably we have to dig up, but we have to give people a chance to read them, kind of give them time to. I can't say forgive, right? We can't say forgive, but time for them for redemption or something like that. Like, we are so judgmental at this point. What do you think?
We are going through a period in this country where we're coming to terms with some really egregious behavior in the past, whether it be racism or sexism. And I think it is healthy for this country to have these discussions and to sort it out and to establish standards to make sure that people's behavior conforms to our expectations. We still don't know how to deal with. We still haven't. We don't deal.
We're still dealing with this
with people who've done things
issue,
way in the past. And what do you, if you're a young person and you make some egregious mistakes, what do you need to do to overcome that so that you can lead a reasonably normal life?
So to me, I mentioned the double standard because Kamala Harris or the Democrats has been pretty silent, but now Kamala Harris and other prominent Democrats, I think they want him to step down, Justice Fairfax, the lieutenant governor. They wanted Brett Kavanaugh to give up the Supreme Court justice position, but I don't know why they're so hesitant about it, just because it's their own. I think, to me, it seems to be that way.
I think it's just I think Democrats have been much hard. You know, when Northam came out, they jerked all over him. Everybody demanded he resign immediately.
But not the Fairfax thing. When Fairfax came out, I never heard. I didn't hear. It took them 2 days. I think it took Kamala Harris and was it Elizabeth Warren or Nancy Pelosi? These people came out a little bit later.
I think the information about the assault was also a little bit slow. We had an accusation, but the information, the details of the accusation were not as forthcoming.
So among 3 of them, do you think all 3 would step down, or do you think 2 of them will step down?
I have no idea. I'm delighted that I'm not in the room having to make that decision, but I know it must be traumatic for the state of Virginia.
And I'm saying that it was a bad week for the Democrats because also Elizabeth Warren, the senator for Massachusetts, she has been revealed that she wrote on her Texas bar registration card, Native American. But you know, we all know that she was revealed last October that she is not a Native American, right? So, I mean, what do you think about this?
Well, I have a unique perspective on this. One, because I'm an amateur genealogist. I spend a lot of time doing this. And I'm very sympathetic to Elizabeth Warren and her position. One, she is of Native American descent, factually, and by DNA, her great-great-great-great-grandfather was...
But it's only 1,000.
It doesn't matter. It is her heritage.
And that's lower than the average American, right?
But it doesn't matter. She is still descendant of a Native American. Her 5th great-grandfather was a Native American. He was. It's factual, and her DNA confirms that.
Then why did she apologize then? She apologized.
So she did apologize, and I think I would, but having been through this, I kind of understand where she's coming from. Once she was a young lady, she discovered her Native American ancestry, and she was proud of it. She wanted to connect to something that was important. My family has Irish roots, so I've never been to Ireland. I don't speak Gaelic, but you know, I kind of enjoy the fact that I had ancestors who came from Ireland, and I just have a sense of pride about that. I know that I'm not Irish. I'm an American, but I have Irish ancestry. So there's times I want to connect with my Irish ancestry or my Polish ancestry. And I think it's not unreasonable when you're in college, you discover you've got Native American roots, and you're just excited about it. I don't think it was malicious or in any way attempting to deceive people.
I know a lot of Caucasians who has African American blood in them. Can they claim to be African American? I don't think they can. If they're like 6 to 10 generations back,
they can claim
to find African American blood.
They can absolutely claim that they have African American.
Can you write it down like African American on a report card, like a bar registration card?
Most people would not do that.
Would not do that.
And
right?
what she did,
I think she took advantage of the system. That's what I think. I think when she went to Harvard, that's why she had, you know, the directory. If you look at the faculty directory, under her name, it's a Native American. You know, I don't think Harvard said, "Hey, you should be a Native American." It's she who claimed that she was somebody who she wasn't. Yeah. So I think the political blowback is huge. Even the Washington Post and CNN criticized her for that. For me, that's an urgent message for a Democrat to have both media to attack them. Sacramento Bee today, you know what their editorial was? Elizabeth Warren, among all the candidates so far, is the smartest person. But she should stop her campaign right now.
Well, let me add a little contrast to that. So, one, I don't doubt her intentions as to why she did it. One, she is Native American. She is. She is factually, and DNA has demonstrated it. She is of Native American descent. It is factual.
But there should be a caveat or an...
So she should, but she's not a tribal member. But she's not lying to say that is her history, because it is. But she made a mistake in otherwise exemplary career. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who admits to grabbing women's genitals, who has
nobody said he's a saint.
So
Jeffrey, nobody said he's a saint.
But here's the thing: he's got a long list of issues that prove that he was not a saint. But she made one. Let's say I'll even stipulate. Let's call it a mistake that she made 30 years ago in college. And she has to drop out of the presidential race, but Trump gets to be president.
But isn't it true? Isn't it true in United States of America, if you claim to be a Native American, that you can get a lot of advantages here in the States don't they?
I don't know. Well, there are some cases where if you are a Native American or if you are under affirmative action, there's
Right.
opportunities. I don't know that she got any.
To me, it
advantage.
seems like this is not the only incident. 1986. I think there might be some other cases. These turn of events happen because it's all chain reaction. Even this Virginia governor, Ralph Northam case. Do you know why it happened? Because Virginia was about to approve late-term abortion. And one of his medical colleagues, medical school student friend, saw that and was so angry that he digged up the album and found that out. And that's when he sent that to Big League Politics. I think he sent it to probably one of the major networks, but they didn't want to cover it. So he sent it to a Big League Politics.
All of us in politics are subject to that sort of
background. It is. So to me, I don't think this is the only single incident where Elizabeth Warren claimed to be a Native American. And I think if she wanted to claim it, she should have took the DNA test in the first place before she wanted to claim that. Because I bet it's not her then. Everybody's Native American then, according to her standard.
They weren't doing DNA
and back in the 80s. I give you that.
I've done DNA. I have zero Native American blood. I am 100% Northern European, from England to
That is not easy to do either. That is not easy to do.
I'm about as white as they come. But again, at that time, if I would have discovered I was Native American at the time I was in college, as excited as I am about genealogy, who knows? Maybe I would have marked Native American as well, because I want to associate with that part of my ancestry.
Okay, so what do you think about this? Megyn Kelly, she got fired because of her comments about the blackface, right?
Yes.
Right. So, okay, she got fired, and I think seems like this blackface issue is getting bigger and bigger. And it was found out that Jimmy Kimmel from ABC, the night show host, he did the blackfacing. He did a black paint all over his body and pretended to be Karl Malone. You know who Karl Malone is, Utah Jazz forward, power forward, Karl Malone, and he pretended to be like him. And Jimmy Fallon, he was pretending to be Chris Rock. He colored himself all black too, like brown, black, and he pretended to talk like Chris Rock. I was paying attention to those two comedians. They would not make fun of this Virginia issue. What do you think should happen to them if you say, like, Megyn Kelly is fired? This is becoming controversy in itself, too.
I don't have any special insight about how to hold people accountable for egregious behavior. It is unfathomable to me that in this day and age, particularly somebody of the generation of Jimmy Kimmel, and who was the other one?
Jimmy Fallon, Tonight Show host.
Fallon, that given how reprehensible that whole concept of blackface is and what it means to our African American fellow citizens, I just don't know how anybody can get into that mental space where they can allow themselves to do that.
I don't understand either.
But we're having a reckoning right now, just like we did with Me Too. And hopefully when this is all done, people will understand that such disrespectful and painful demonstrations have no place in American society.
That's very well said, and I agree with you 100% on that. Well, that's our show for today. Our show is not about left or right. It's about being right or wrong. To stay up to date with our latest videos, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel by clicking subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Jeffrey.